Stop right there. Yeah, you. If you like all things entertainment, current events, or Hollywood, then look no further. Creator to Creators, hosted by director Meosha of Horror Noir, interviews filmmakers and creatives from around the world. Join in on the fun, guest celebrities, and informative information to have as a creator. Hit subscribe and stay connected to Creator to Creators.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Creators to Creators today. Today we have a special guest.
Allison Begalman.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, definitely. I'm excited to talk to you. Wow, you have your bio is like amazing. So like bow down to all that you're doing. It's really amazing. I love to go back to the beginning. Like I feel like our childhood like kind of is like the beginning of everything and like who we become. So tell me a little bit about your childhood and like what that was like, and then kind of finding your way into the things that you're doing now.
Sure. Yeah, I thought about this recently. Like, how did I become a community organizer slash entertainment professional, entrepreneur from sort of my upbringing and who I was? And honestly, I think it was a lot about like I was always a young person who was reaching out to people, trying to like build community in terms of like, let's hang out, let's go make this plan. When I felt like I wasn't being the one sought out. So I decided to build my own community. And that's kind of what happened, when I was elementary school, middle school, just growing up generally. So I think that helped me once I moved into college and was able to really dive into what I wanted to be doing, or so I thought. I was able to see that it wasn't me. It wasn't that like I was weird or that people didn't want to hang out with me. It was that like, honestly, people don't really reach out in the way that they could to build their life and community. Instead, people are nervous, they're shy, they want to be sought after, and so you just have to go do it. And so and I was also like I was a bit shy at moments, so I think I was able to build confidence, and once I was in college, I started to organize, and then I understood myself more. I was like, oh, I just like build community, like that's what I'm supposed to do. If that makes sense.
No, definitely. Oh my gosh, yeah. I feel like that's exactly, you're right. I think most people are, and even so being in I'm from Florida originally, so being in Los Angeles for just starting to meet people, like
Yeah.
I'm super like, hey, let's hang out, and it was like you have to like kind of be that person because most people don't follow up or so that's
Exactly.
yeah,
And not take
1000%.
it personally. Like you can't take it personally, because at the end of the day, like unless they've actually like wronged you, um, they probably just aren't thinking about it, or they didn't look at their message, or X, Y, and Z. And like you don't need to internalize that. That's not on you.
Right, exactly. How did you like? I'm just curious. Like, just I mean, there's so many things. I've watched your acting, and you're wow, amazing actress. I looked at a lot of your things, and I'm just like, how do you have the time? Like, I love it
Okay,
though.
well, I don't act anymore. That I did it for a couple short films. And so basically, I'll give the points on like who I am. So basically, I thought, I always wanted to be a writer, and was and also a singer randomly when I was young, and
Nice.
that everyone always wants to be a singer. So, only a few make it. And then I ended up getting into the USC School of Cinematic Arts in their screenwriting program, which like I'm from Jersey. People don't really I didn't know what that school was. Like I had no idea, but I got in, and so my mom was like, okay, I guess you can go do this because you will make money, hopefully. And I was like, yes, hopefully. So went to screenwriting program and had a really good experience. Finally met my people. I definitely felt like out of sorts in high school. And then I ended up also getting into community organizing, and started to understand that I could be doing that organizing within the film school, because a lot of my example is that a lot of the men weren't working with the women for some reason. I think it was just like, oh, our friends, like we're gonna go make films, like whatever. And the girls were like, excuse me, and like also queer folks, queer and trans folks were being left out. So
Yeah.
I started doing organizing in the film school, and then I continued to do that as I went to pursue TV writing. And so I was on that track and working at different entertainment companies and writers' rooms. All at the same time, outside of work, I was continuing to organize marginalized groups of folks in the industry, bringing them together so we could build relationships, hire and fire each other forever, right? And then I ended up starting this newsletter called Young Entertainment Activists that basically called out, we have a lot of privilege in this industry, and like, even if you're an assistant, you can do something. So how can we leverage that? How can we really become social justice literate so that we can then bring that into our projects? That ended up turning into my company, YEA Impact, which is a consultancy that focuses on high-level events, campaigns, content, all rooted in community organizing. That's like how I see everything. And that is sort of took the work I was doing, organizing on the ground in entertainment, and obviously like event production, like all these things, like that's what you're doing as an organizer. And people don't realize that. They're like, oh, it's just, you're an activist. I'm like, no, you're doing fundraising, social media, copywriting, all that stuff is like skills you're building. So that was my company. And then we ended up building this thing called the Hollywood Climate Summit that is its own universe. But that's amazing. A really big project that we're doing. So yeah, it's like impact, social impact, entertainment. Plus, I also write on the side when I have time. But again, we can't do everything.
I love that. I think that's so awesome because, like, I feel like I literally, when I read your bio, I was thinking like, I feel like I need to do more now. Like, I feel like there's more to do. Like,
there's always more to do. So you don't have to feel that way.
Absolutely. Do you love, I mean, obviously you have to love it to do all the things.
Well, I do. I think so. I'm 29. And I like to say that because most people think I am older. And I think it's really important that young people are validated in this space and that we all do the things we need to do. But so, now I'm going to be turning 30 next year. And I've been thinking a lot about, can I be stretched these ways? What is the most impactful thing I'm doing? What am I most excited about? So like, these are things that I'm asking myself right now. And I also feel like my 20s were like reversed. Like I like worked crazy and I just did so much instead of partying, which now I'm like, grab a drink. Yes. So I think, and I think people do that because they're so like they feel scared about the unknown. So they're like, well, I know I can do these things, right? I can go out, have a good time, build relationships. So all to say is, I'm figuring that out, and I don't want to normalize doing a million things. Like, I don't think that's healthy long-term for a person, but I just sort of followed the things that were happening in front of me. Yeah, I think, and that's the thing. People come to me because I do a lot of like impact campaigns for different projects, and people always think, oh, I needed this huge budget and all this stuff, and like, to hire me, you should have a budget, but you're just doing it for yourself because you are making a short or doing a smaller podcast or just a tiny project. You can think about what the impact, what is the goal. Why am I doing this? Who am I making this for? And actually like partner with organizations before you start that, or at least talk to them to understand what they're doing on the ground before you start going in. Because I think everything we do, there's a social issue attached to it. And I know so many people coming into this industry are only coming in because they want to make an impact. And if that's the case, we need to start thinking about that impact at the beginning. What's the why? And then move forward that way, because ultimately that's going to help us with researching our project. That's going to help us build relationships. That's going to help us market it down the line. So why wouldn't we start thinking about that before we're even writing the thing? Absolutely. Absolutely. So what's the future? What do you like as far as like for your company, for, where do you see it in 5 years? It's a good question. I'm not someone that feels like they need to be an all-powerful like business leader. Oprah? Definitely not. Props to Oprah. I think for me, and I also don't know that you can scale something like that unless you really want to grow as a business leader. I'm an activist. At the end of the day, I'm a community organizer. I'm a creative. I am an entrepreneur. I love building things. I love helping other people build things. But I think I'm curious to see what projects come to YEA Impact over the next year. We're really, really focused on climate because obviously it's one of the most pressing and intersectional issues of our time. But also because we started the Climate Summit, which is now going to be in its 5th year, and it grew so much. Awesome. Yeah. So I think for me, I'm thinking about like, is it investing more time in building this conference? Is it, you know, taking in different issues? I don't know. I do feel like climate is going to be where I'm putting in most of my energy over the next 5 years, but I really couldn't say what that North Star is for me. I think it's really stability and being able to just be a human and read books.
I love that.
I know that's not like a fancy answer. Obviously, I would like to be on one of those stupid social impact lists, so my work is validated more, but obviously, you know, I can't be picky.
I'm sure it's going to be amazing. You're great. I mean, the things that you're doing now and where you're going and what you have already done is astronomical. So kudos to you. And at 29, that's absolutely incredible. Like, wow.
A lot. I'm tired, y'all.
I love asking this question, and there's no wrong answer, but I just love asking every guest, if you could choose loyalty or respect, and which one of those would you choose and why?
Loyalty or respect? That's a great question. Huh. I mean, I think loyalty is great, but I also think sometimes you can be loyal to a fault. Like you're not actually, this person may not be a good person, but you're loyal anyway because of X, Y, and Z. So I don't know. I'm going to say respect because I think at the end of the day, if you respect someone, you may want to be loyal to them. So you kind of can get 2 birds with 1 stone.
I like that. That's a great answer. I love that. So when you get a chance, you try to get like writing, what kind of stuff do you like to write about? Or do you have a favorite genre to write about?
Yeah. So I focus in comedy. I have a writing partner that I write with. We have a project that's animated in development right now. I can't really say more than that because also I should, because we're on a strike. But yeah,
no, that's right.
Right. But everything we write has social justice roots. And I think about the impact at the beginning and sort of go through that process for myself of like, why am I writing this? Who are the organizations that are, you know, working on this issue? What do they need? How can this be additive to their work? Like I always think about that. And then I make it really funny because I think at the end of the day, we need more humor in all of our social justice. There are a lot of people doing that, and I'm doing it a lot in climate. So yeah.
Do you think that with, you know, not to get on, I'm not going to talk about strike because I'm not really supposed to either, but do you feel like that we're moving or heading into a direction that is, we're heading in a better direction, I guess, overall with everything that's going on? I mean, more people talking about things, whether it's environmental, you know, social justice, like just all the things that we see in movements. Do you think we're heading in somewhere a better direction?
Well, I think what I can say about this, like from my own perspective and experience organizing in Hollywood, is that I think it's really important that this generation of writers, obviously they're dealing with hardships that it's so difficult to be in this industry. So, you know, obviously so much like respect and gratitude for anyone who is persevering. But also like, hey, if you need help, I'm here. If I can help you in any way. But you know, I really think they're all learning what it means to be a labor organizer. They're learning, and organizing is so pivotal to like the entire world. Every social justice movement has organizing, and I think because of they're understanding that process, what it means to build coalition, what it means to negotiate, what it means to you just build my understanding and empathy with other people's issues and communicate and actively listen. I think because of that, the stories that these creatives put forth are going to be way more impactful. I obviously would prefer this not to have happened because it affected so many people, but I do think that coming out of this, we're going to see a really different story landscape.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's kind of like with everything that every movement, right? I feel like there has to be some type of change because I think globally, I think a lot of people are like just tired and just like, okay, like we have to talk about it. Like, yeah. I'm with you. I wish we didn't have to go through it this way, but we'll see. Like that's
how movements work, you know, it has to get to the point where you say, nope, putting the pencils down, and I'm going on the street, and I'm going to be there, and I'm not going to leave until we get what we need.
Absolutely. 1000%. Do you feel like, as you know, with all the things that you've done as a woman, do you think, like, I mean, because I've run into a lot of like kind of like blocks and my career. I actually went to school for cinematography, and then like just working with a lot of men, you know, I had to like kind of, I don't know, had to be a certain way, because coming in I was just very like green, and all the guys are very like, oh sweetie, I can do, you know, all this stuff, and I was just like, I want to be taken seriously. Do you feel like, as a woman, and the fact that you know, CEO and all these things that you're doing as a powerful woman at that, do you still have to kind of solidify yourself, like, hey, I don't need like that, like, do you have to always kind of, is that still the narrative for you, even though you've done all these things?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And I think, look, everyone knows, first, there's two realms for me, right? In the Hollywood space, it's still run by older, mainly men.
Yeah.
That's until that changes, we're gonna still be dealing with that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then the other piece in the social impact space and in the climate space, I am 99% of the time like in the youngest person in the room, even now at 29.
Wow.
It really takes a long time to build your skill set / like connections in that space. And while there are a lot of incredible youth activists and influencers and leaders who are doing incredible climate work, we are not being given the resources that we should be. There's not that investment in the youth movement in any way, or innovation. Even though maybe on the outside it seems that way. And I think it's similar for Hollywood as well. I also think intergenerational like there isn't a lot of intergenerational work or respect, not a lot of intergenerational friendships. And I think that is when we solve a lot of problems, is when older folks and younger folks see each other's humanity, and get to build relationships. And then that's when the funding and the support and the unity comes. So yeah, I mean, I've had experiences, especially when I first started doing this work. Obviously I was a little bit less confident, but I was like having events with hundreds of young people coming together in backyards and all over LA. And then I would go in meetings and people would be like, why don't you just go to marketing school? Why don't you just get a grad thing? Like, what you're doing doesn't make sense. Like, there's no market for it. I'm like, shut up. Like, it grinds on you. It really, so I've really, and I still do have to work on my confidence every day. I literally am going to Climate Week in New York City next week. And I had to hype myself up with my therapist to be like, how can I show up and just like not be afraid to just go talk to people, because I'm a badass and I have a lot to offer and people should want to talk to me. She's like, yes. So yeah.
I love that. Therapy. Absolutely. I'm a believer on like, I literally, every time my friend asks me, I'm like, you know, I think therapy would be great. I mean, I love it. It has changed my life. And
it helps.
It really does. Like, just the things, like you said, confidence, and just where things like, you're like, where do I get this from? And they're like, oh, this is from this. I'm like, oh, makes sense. So I love my therapist. So kudos to you that you're doing
you
that.
Interview your therapist next interview.
That's it.
Turn the tables.
Right. And I'm gonna be crying, and oh man, yeah, it's a thing. Do you, curious, and I know you said you don't do acting anymore, but did you prefer writing over acting, or did you like it at, like, when you were doing acting, kind of like simultaneous, like both at the same time, or was it like writing over acting?
Yeah, I mean, like, I only acted to be in some of the projects that I'm in. I enjoy it, and I definitely feel like it's a fun experience, but I'm also like, at this point, I have other skill sets that are more beneficial to myself and the world. But do I think acting helps with other things? Like public speaking is something I'm working on. Like, how can I use it to improve other skills that will bring more? And my partner is an actor, so I'm like, you can
Oh.
have that. She's just really great. And she does a lot of other things too, like social impact wise.
Oh, that's great. And that you work together. That's awesome.
Yeah, she co-founded the Hollywood Climate Summit with me as one of our co-founders. So it's really
Very
cool. We got to
awesome.
like vibe over that. Yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful. I think that's awesome. They say that working with your partner is like, no, but it works. So
You just have to communicate and navigate. And we're still working on it all the time, but I think it's kind of like all couples need to be working on their communication and thinking about that from the early stages.
definitely, definitely. What advice would you give to someone out there that wants to do what you're doing or just even try to get involved in some way?
I think the top piece of advice I would give is, first of all, you don't need to go outside of your community and network to do the work, whatever social justice issue is you're feeling compelled to do. It can be in your neighborhood. There's definitely something going on in your neighborhood locally, if you live in LA, like throughout your county or wherever you do live. Or you can do the work at your company with your friends. Like it really is about not minimizing the like extra steps, but I don't think people utilize their own network enough to make systemic changes. There's so many questions you can be asking instead of just like being compliant or just existing. So I would say, think about the issue that you feel like you are most passionate about, but B, that you can most quickly and responsively influence.
Yeah.
And then think about your community and your network and how and what the strategy is there. That's what I would say. Obviously, there's so many incredible organizations to get involved with, so there's research to be done in that way, but I do think we have a lot of influence just where we are.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Where can people follow everything that you have going on and on social media?
People can follow by going to, I guess Instagram at Allison Begalman. That's just my Instagram. LinkedIn, I feel like I'm more active on, same as my name. And then you can follow at YEA Impact on Instagram and LinkedIn, and the Hollywood Climate Summit at Instagram and LinkedIn. We really just don't love Twitter, clearly.
Same. I don't understand the
much.
point of Twitter at all. I'm like, what is Twitter? Like, what?
Yeah, it's just, we only have so much capacity for these things.
Right. Exactly. It's just so many apps and like platforms that I kind of get like I'm like, this is too much for me. I get overwhelmed.
Time. Awful.
Absolutely. So what's next? Anything that you would like to share with listeners that you have coming up?
What do I have coming up? Well, we'll be at Climate Week next week, which maybe won't be applicable when this comes out. We are starting to invite folks to potentially sponsor and partner on the 2024 Hollywood Climate Summit. Last year was at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences and in partnership with them and many other incredible organizations. And I think this year is going to be even more amazing. So if that's something people are interested in or just getting involved, they can reach out to me. They can honestly message me on LinkedIn or Instagram. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, that's really what I think I'm focused on, as well as just figuring out what my 2024 project slate looks like.
All right.
And trying to have some fun.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Really quick, last question. I promise
Yeah,
I'll be out of your hair. What's like, throughout your life or anyone you've met, like whether it's a mentor or someone you've crossed paths, a quote or something that sticks with you that, that it keeps you going in tough times?
Oh my gosh, a quote. I should have thought about this before.
Or a saying or something that just keeps you going when you're like at, low points of your life.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there probably is a specific quote that I'm just not remembering, but I think I tend to think about how at the end of the day, we're all just floating on this rock, but not to minimize the importance of us, being in community. It's like this person over there is no more important than that person over there. Like we are all part of humanity, and it's really important to think about that when you are feeling down about everything, because I think that's where we find our strength. We find our ability to continue doing what we need to be doing. I don't know. That was a broad thing. I
love it.
Had to have a great quote that is helpful, but
No,
it's just
that's
being
great.
close to humanity, and it keeps you humble, and I think that's good.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate talking to you.
Sure.
And come back anytime.
Cool.
Anytime.
Okay, well, thank you.
Definitely. And thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.